皆さんこんばんは。Good evening, everyone. I'm Atsuko Ichikawa, one of the EducationUSA advisors in Tokyo. I will be a moderator for today. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you everyone for joining us. Before introducing the speakers for today's webinar, I will briefly talk about what EducationUSA is. Okay, so EducationUSA is a U.S. Department of network of 400 advising centers in more than 170 countries. The network promotes U.S. higher education to students around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities in the United States. We have 6 EducationUSA centers in Japan, at the U.S. Embassy and Consulates. EducationUSA Tokyo hosts today's session. If you have any questions, please contact EducationUSA near you. So now, please join me in welcoming 2 speakers for today, Anna from Hamilton College and Christian from York College of Pennsylvania. So I will stop sharing my screen. Oops. And I will hand it over to Christian.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian DiGregorio, Director of International Recruitment for York College of Pennsylvania. I'm also here with Hamilton College, and Anna will introduce herself. You just want to say hello, Anna?
Hello, thank you so much for this opportunity. Happy International Education Week for everyone. My name is Dr. Anna Wise. I am Associate Dean of Admission and Director of International Recruitment at beautiful Hamilton College. So glad to be joined by Christian and to be invited by EducationUSA.
So we do want this to be a learning opportunity, a way for you to get as much information as possible and really learn about the importance of a balanced college list. We will be providing you with an opportunity to ask questions at the end. But what we'd like to cover today are the different types of institutions that are in the United States, the impact of rankings that might be on your list or names that you're used to, what we call brands, the definition of what fit is and why it's so important. And what does highly selective mean? You'll hear that term quite a bit, not only in this session, but it may be in your college search when you hear about a highly selective university or college. We'll talk about why you need a balanced list and why it's so important, how to plan your list. We'll give you some good pointers, some good ideas, practical knowledge that you'll be able to carry through your academic search, different factors to consider in choosing which schools to apply to, and what the next steps would be. So first, let's talk about the different designations of institutions and how to get started. So the United States Department of Education lists almost 4,300 institutions where you can seek out higher education. And that could be really overwhelming. 4,300. Where do you start your search? So first, let's take a look at different types of universities and colleges that are available to you. There's community colleges. Now, a community college offers a 2-year degree, or what we call associate degrees here in the United States. This can be a very cost-effective way and a wonderful way to start your education. You can also go to a community college and then transfer to another university later on if you do choose, or just wrap up with your associate's degree. Next, we have a junior college. They're also going to offer 2-year degrees and some 4-year bachelors. So think maybe something like a bachelor's in business. Next, we have colleges. And you have 2 colleges here on this presentation, Hamilton College and York College of Pennsylvania. We both offer 4-year degrees. But we also offer master. You might even find a college that offers PhD or doctoral programs. Then there's universities. They tend to have the same offerings as a college does. They might have a little more PhD or doctoral programs. They might be larger in size, but that's not always the case. The main difference between a college and university in the United States is that it indicates the size and structure of the institution, but not the quality. Sometimes you come across the name college, and if you're used to a system maybe in the UK or somewhere else, you might think, well, it's a college, so they only do secondary education, or it's only a community college. Where in the United States, a college and university can offer the same programs and the same degrees, but it does not indicate the quality of the institution. Now, to give you an example, most people would agree that Harvard is a good institution. What most people don't realize, because they always use the word Harvard, they don't say the full name. But if you were at secondary school right now and you wanted a bachelor degree, and if we were fortunate enough to be accepted, you would actually be studying at Harvard College. Harvard University is for postgraduate work. So if you're looking for your master's degree, doing some doctoral work or PhD program, that you would go to Harvard University. And there's a link at the bottom that talks about that story right there. Next slide, please. Let's talk about rankings. There can often be some confusion around this as well. Some students make the mistake of focusing on only a few types of different schools. Remember, 4,300 colleges and universities. Now there's the Ivy League, that's your Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, Brown, Yale. They would all be considered Ivy League institutions. Then there's top tier, or what we call name brand, selective. These are oftentimes based on rankings of institutions. And rankings, when someone asks me, what's your ranking? I often say, which one? Because there's so many different ranking organizations and different ranking categories. This can become very confusing. So rankings don't necessarily speak to your wishes or your experience, meaning what you're looking for. So if you're looking at a ranking in your college search and that's it, you're missing out on some really great opportunities. First, let's talk about who decides the rankings. As I mentioned, there's many organizations throughout the world that does rankings. In the United States, the most popular one is called US News and World Report. Now, with these rankings, the universities and colleges and other organizations will upload data to US News and World Report. That data then gets interpreted by US News, and then they give a ranking. The data that's submitted by colleges and universities are not verified, so sometimes mistakes can be made, which can affect a ranking. And if you're relying solely on rankings, again, 4,300 colleges and universities, that means only 215 of them are in the top 5% of institutions in the United States. Now, that may seem like a lot, but not all of them are going to be in the location that you want, or offer the same academic program you want, or maybe be a good fit, which Anna will talk about soon. Or maybe you might not be admitted, or maybe it's not a good fit financially for you. So you do want to take caution when looking solely at a ranking. So your best fit might not correlate with a highly ranked university or college. Next slide, please. So what we'd like you to do is when you're going through your college search, really be concerned with fit, or what we call fit here in the United States. And what is fit? Fit is when a student feels comfortable on campus, you integrate with the campus community, you join clubs, you get along with your professors, you really have the best educational and personal experience possible. Maybe you have some great internships that you got, and you joined in different extracurricular activities or sports, and you're just kind of making a lot of friends and you're just comfortable there. That's what we mean by good fit. But fit is a two-way street, meaning the student needs to do your own self-reflection. What's important to you? And why are you a great match for your college that you're looking for? And you need to be able to communicate that throughout your application. Next slide. All right, Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about what highly selective colleges mean.
Thank you, thank you. So when we were sharing and when Christian was talking about different types of colleges and universities, he wanted to emphasize also that sometimes it can be challenging to navigate the universities in the United States. And it can be tempting to say, I want to focus on those institutions that are highly recognized and highly regarded, without necessarily understanding also the nature of what highly selective means. So a lot of the colleges that are those name brand type institutions, such as Brown, Cornell, Dartmouth, some of them that are listed here, are highly selective. Now, Hamilton, my institution, is a liberal arts and sciences college, but it is one of the oldest in the US and one of the most highly ranked as well in the United States, and fits into this category of highly selective. Now, the great thing about highly selective institutions is that oftentimes they can offer a lot of opportunities, but the reality is that they only serve a very small percentage of the United States and international students who come to the US. Now, the Pew Research suggests it's only about 5% of students that study in the United States that attend highly selective institutions. And realize when we talk about highly selective, some of these numbers here can be quite intimidating, right? If Brown accepts 5% of all candidates, if Dartmouth is accepting 6%. Now, Hamilton accepted 12% this past year, which is double the number here. But 12% acceptance rate for us still means that we had 20 students who applied for every one seat at Hamilton College. And imagine that kind of math can be really, really challenging. For that reason, while we don't want to totally discourage you from applying to these highly selective institutions, we also want to remind you that highly selective could also be framed, and more recently, you'll hear on the internet the phrase highly rejective as well. This means that the majority of students who apply are not going to be able to be admitted to these institutions. And there are a lot of reasons for this. The majority of it is that more students apply to each of these institutions, and including the Hamilton, then we have capacity each year. This requires admission officers to make very, very difficult decisions about who is invited to their campus. But if your list is full of these highly selective or highly rejective schools, it's very important for you to balance that with schools that you may potentially be able to be more confident about admissibility. Now, when these highly selective institutions make decisions on your candidacy, it's also really important to realize that the decisions they make are not personal and are not specifically about you. So when we talk about 20 students applying for one spot at Hamilton College, when we think about students who are not admitted, I want to make the distinction between the application and the specific candidate. When I'm not able to offer admission to a student, it is not because I do not believe that student has the ability to be successful in a place like Hamilton College. The reality is there are many more students who apply to my college who could be successful than I have the capacity for. So the difference is that the application does not necessarily meet the criteria that I need at this time. There's only so much that you can control in this process. When you have a college that has a 12% admission rate, much less a college with a 4 or 5% admission rate, and so many students who are potentially able to do the work, at that time, it comes out to some factors that are outside of your control, whether it's institutional priorities, whether it's balancing academic needs, like we need more students in the biological sciences, or we need more students who are studying agriculture. There are some things that you cannot unfortunately control. The reality, though, is that while you can't control the admissions decisions, you can work as hard as you can to make sure that not only are you presenting a strong and authentic application to who you are, but you can also realize that with 4,300 colleges and universities in the United States, there is at least one, and there is more than one, that would be a great fit for you, where you will be able to thrive, where you will be a cherished member of their community. So the important thing to do is to set yourself up for success, which means if you have a few highly selective or highly rejective colleges on your list, make sure that you are balancing it with non-highly rejective colleges that would also be a great fit for you. So when you're planning your list, now in the US, we sometimes use the phrase your list to talk about which colleges and universities are you considering applying to. We like to say you want to think about your academic and your financial fit, right? You need to make sure that you're applying to schools that will meet your financial criteria. And we encourage students to think about breaking your list into 3 major areas. The first, we like to call this a reach school, like you're reaching up. And these are the types of schools that have admission rates maybe below 20%. If there's an admission rate below 20%, we know this is going to be a highly selective college. And this also means that they will have more students who apply than they have capacity, which means we have to, while you can have a few of these on your list, you cannot be confirmed of admissibility at these types of schools. So you want to make sure you're balancing. Now I have here listed consider for early decision option, because I do think this is a good option. Now, if you have reached school that you would really, really love to attend. Early decision is a plan where some universities and colleges and universities will allow you to apply earlier, usually, than the majority of their applicants. But you make a commitment if you see the word decision, early decision. You make a commitment to the college which says, I am applying early when I'm already sure that if you admit me and if you offer the financial support I need, I will enroll at this college university, meaning it's your top choice type institution. But you make a commitment to that college because it's you're making a promise to enroll if you're admitted. So you can only apply to one college using the early decision plan. Now, it's a commitment that you make, having only one college to apply to early decision. So the colleges and universities recognize that with higher admission rates. For example, today is actually the deadline for early decision 1 at Hamilton College. So students are applying to Hamilton and making a commitment saying they would enroll if we offer them admission. We will have higher admit rates than the 1 in 20 at early decision because we are honoring the commitment that students make. However, there's usually 2 rounds of early decision you can utilize. The one is early decision 1, and that deadline is today, so it'd be pretty tough to meet it if you haven't yet done that. But there will also be an early decision 2 deadline, which will be in January. And this is for 2 options where you can identify a school of your top choice. Hopefully you'd be admitted through your first early decision 1, but if not, you can make the same type of one-time commitment to another college at early decision 2. So if you want to have reach schools or these types of highly selective schools on your list, realize they will bring students in through regular decision. In Hamilton, we will admit students through regular decision, of course, but the reality is they will be far more competitive in regular decision. So you can think about these early decision plans as a tool and try and use them to put your reach schools in the early decision area. So target schools, this should be the majority of the schools on your list. These are schools where you would likely fit into their admitted student profile. How do you find this information? You actually have quite a lot of resources online where you can research what's the average academic range, what's the average testing if they require testing, what's information that tells you about their student body. Now, we've listed some resources for you. This is not an exhaustive list. It's not a thorough list. IPED's data, though, is institutional data about admissions that you can Google, and you can find information about data for the past few years through IPED's data. And there's also a website called College Navigator that can help you share some of this information. And there are plenty of other websites to help understand admissibility for an institution. But it's a good idea to have some schools that you would also be really excited about, meaning they would meet other elements of your list, but that you are fairly confident that you fit into their admission area. And then it's also important to add at least 1 or 2 safety schools. These are schools in which you are basically assured admission. The reality is that while the US higher education university application system, everyone talks about how competitive it is, they're really talking about the highly selective, highly rejective colleges. They are not necessarily talking about the majority. As we mentioned in the previous slide, 5% of the US universities are considered highly selective or highly rejected. That means 95% of institutions are not in this category. So you want to find some schools that you're fairly confident that you'll be admitted in. So that way you have options. Even if you want to have some reach schools, it's important to make sure you have options so that you can plan and safeguard your future. Now, when you're considering which types of colleges and universities to have on your list, if you're not just thinking about rankings and just applying to the most highly ranked universities, you might say, how do I decide what types of schools I want to apply to out of 4,300? Now, I always encourage students to first think about themselves. It should be a self-reflective process. The reason for that, 4,300 universities, you can understand there are a lot of options out there. And the reality, if we bust the myth of every college and university in the US is highly selective, the reality is the majority of them are not in the highly selective area and would love to have your application be able to offer you a wonderful education opportunity. But in order to decide which colleges and universities you want to apply to, it's a good idea to first take a look at yourself and what would you want out of a college and university. Since there are 4,300 of them, there are going to be so many options. So you can be fairly choosy and say to yourself, what elements are important to me? When I think about my perfect college or university, what does that look like? Think to yourself, what's important to me, both academically and personally. One of the jokes that I like to share is the joke that human beings are really like house plants with anxiety. We need sunlight, we need water, and we need to calm down a little bit in order to really be able to flourish and grow. So your college and university, at the same time, academics are a huge part of what you're going to study. But realize a 4-year time commitment studying in the United States, it's a very brave thing you're considering doing. And you also need to think about nurturing your humanity, because if you are not taking care of your mental, your physical, your emotional health, your academics will suffer and your experience in the United States will suffer. So it's important, not when you're thinking about colleges and universities on your list, you want to think about academics, obviously, very important, but you also want to be a little bit choosy about yourself as a human being. What type of environment is going to make you successful? So we have prepared some questions here, things to ask yourself when deciding which types of colleges and universities you want to apply for. Of course, you need to think about academics. What do you really enjoy? What do you not enjoy? And hopefully the colleges or universities that you apply to have more than one academic program that sparks interest in you, because the reality is the United States is about academic exploration. So you want to make sure that you're experiencing a lot of different things during your time in the United States. For technical programs, for some bachelor's programs, you can find technical programs. These might be engineering, these might be nursing or education programs that have specific accreditations that tell you about their quality. I know, for instance, York has a variety of really wonderful bachelor's level programs that have some special accreditations. Accreditations means that they have hit some very objective standards of excellence in quality. And that for technical programs, meaning programs that you usually need to get certifications or types of things. I'm talking about engineering, health sciences, education, things like that. These kinds of accreditations can be really helpful. So asking and researching what are the best accreditations for the subject I'm interested in can be a really great alternative towards thinking about just rankings. Next, you want to think about opportunities for internships, research, fellowship programs during your bachelor's time. If you can do research while you're an undergraduate student, it will set you up for a variety of careers and postgraduate opportunities. Now, as I said, the whole joke about human beings as houseplants that have anxiety, we want to think about what will it take to make you grow and flourish. So you have to think about things like weather. Now, Hamilton College is a wonderful institution, but we're getting ready for our first snowstorm right now, right? It's going to snow tomorrow here. It's only November. So if you're going to come to a place in the north like Hamilton, you need to be ready for snow. How do you feel about that? Some students love different seasons and weather. Other students say, look, I need sunshine, or I'm really going to struggle. This doesn't say that studying in the north or studying in the south of the US is better. It just means for different people who have different types of self-knowledge about what types of environments can they thrive in, they might make different decisions. At the same time, if you have family members in the United States, you might say, I really want to study in a college or university that is close to my family members so that they can support me. Or you might say, actually, those family members are a little strange and I would like to study far away from them. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But this is a factor to take into consideration if you have family members or know people who live in the United States. You want to think about a large university or a small, rural, meaning in a natural environment, or in a city space. Again, large versus small, rural versus urban. None of these tell you about actually which one is better. It's just better for you. So you are being self-reflective and saying to yourself, now I know that I'm a person who really needs to have a lot going on. I want to be in a city. Or I know that I'm a person who gets distracted easily, and I would love to study in a beautiful natural environment where I can really focus on what I'm doing. Really being a self-reflective through this process will help you understand which types of options are best for you. You also want to think about community opportunities, ways we're getting engaged. This could be Model UN, this could be track teams, this could be knitting clubs. But these types of extracurricular activities and ways to get engaged with the community are what's going to help to nourish the humanity that you bring to our campus and your role in our community. And if you are very well engaged in the community and have friends and community around you, this will again make your academics do better. So at the end of the day, you should be asking yourself, what environment will meet my personal needs? And then this should help you select which types of colleges you wish to apply for. Because finding your fit, which is a phrase we oftentimes use, really what this means is we want to find a place where you can belong. Belonging and being part of a community, being engaged, is really going to help you be happy. And it's very silly to say, but happy college students are successful college students. Remember, studying in the US is a very brave thing, and hopefully it's going to be a wonderful and life-changing opportunity. But the reality is, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So it's going to be hard. So give yourself the opportunity to be successful and balance not only your academic health, but also your emotional and your personal health through some of these other questions. And try and be self-reflective when you're picking this list. Now, Christian is going to talk to us a little bit about next steps.
All right, so when you're looking for all these, thank you, Anna. When you're looking at this list that Anna made, the different academic opportunities will be available to you, the non-academic areas will be available to you. Where do you go when you have questions? You're going to have a lot. Who can help you? What kind of admission criteria are there? What do I need for my application? Is there an application fee? Are there scholarships? So you need to understand your network of people that are available to help you. One of them are admission officers, people like Anna and myself. We help students. Our job is to help students make informed decisions. We're not going to tell you and plead with you to come or you do certain things, but we want you to make decisions that are going to be in your best interest so you can make the best decision possible for you and your family, your long-term goals, and your education. The other one are financial aid officers. These are the people that might help you with scholarships, need-based aid. Some universities do offer need-based aids. Some are going to offer, really high scholarships. Some will not offer high scholarships. It really does depend. So do reach out to your admission officers and your financial aid officers, and always stay in contact with your admission officer. And I'll tell you a story and a reason why. Last year, we had some need-based aid that went unclaimed. And there were a few students I had in mind that thought they could really benefit from this. And the problem was, they stopped returning my emails and messages. So guess what happened? Then money went to someone else. So do stay in contact. Do respond to your admissions officers if they are trying to get in touch with you. Don't ignore emails and text messages or whatever messages that might come through. The other opportunities you're going to have are, of course, EducationUSA advisors. Reasons why they're here is to help you navigate your college search. You're also going to be able to lean on, of course, your guidance counselors and your career counselors who are already in your school. You may even have family and friends who are already studying in the United States. They might also be a good resource for you. No matter who, you speak with, do research. We put it there 3 times because it's so important. Research, research, research. The worst thing I like to see happen is when a student comes to campus and they're surprised by something. I don't like surprises. So Anna used the example of, there might be snow tomorrow. And I've had students that, will come to my campus and say, what, there's snow here? Yes, there's snow here. You're in the Northeast. Both Anna and myself are located in the Northeast. Do visit the website. Go through the website, look at the curriculum and the course catalog. May not be exciting, but there can be a big difference. And I'll give you an example. York offers a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies and a Bachelor of Arts. Now, the Bachelor of Science is going to be more for statistics and math. The Bachelor of Arts is going to deal more with policy and law. So it's really important to deal and look at the type of degree that you're going to receive. Look at the outcomes. What do alumni do? Do not be afraid to ask to speak with maybe an alumni or get a specific example. Engage virtually. Look at different visits, interviews, different programs that are available. Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I think we were going to talk first about York, but we will switch and we'll talk about Hamilton first. We are now going to transition to the second portion of today's presentation. So the first portion, we really wanted to help you understand some of the benefits and some strategies and resources you can use when considering about creating your application list and applying to colleges in the United States. Now we are going to transition a little bit. And we are going to talk a little bit about our institutions just for a few minutes before then having some time for questions. So happy to talk a little bit about Hamilton, and we'll come back for York in just a moment. So Hamilton College, which is the institution where I work, I've been sharing a little bit about it throughout today's presentation, but Hamilton is an over 200 years old college of liberal arts and sciences in the United States. Now, we're named after Alexander Hamilton. If you've watched the musical, it's the same guy from the musical. He and George Washington were both trustees at Hamilton when we were founded, which tells you a little bit about how old Hamilton College is. Now, what's different about Hamilton from a traditional liberal arts and sciences college is that Hamilton is one of only about a dozen colleges in the United States that have what's called an open curriculum. The open curriculum means that we have no general education or core education requirements at Hamilton. Instead, we have 60 academic subject areas. Every academic subject area is open to every student, and only 1/3 of your academic program will be in your primary major. That means you have 2/3 to study whatever you would like: physics, chemistry, art history, anthropology. Every program is open to every student, and we really specialize in having you personalize what you want to study. Now, in order to make this successful with so much academic choice, it's important to note that we pair every student with 3 different types of advisors. The first advisor is an academic advisor who helps you to make good choices and helps you to understand some of the options Hamilton has. Our top major every year, number 1, is economics. Number 2 is mathematics. In fact, we graduate higher percentages of math majors than University of Chicago, MIT, and Caltech. Our 3rd most popular major is world politics. It's followed by subjects like biology, psychology, computer science, English literature, Hispanic studies, and theater. And since we have an open curriculum, that means every program is open to every student. So if you're admitted to Hamilton, everyone is open to every student. Now, 3 advisors that help you navigate programs. First is an academic advisor. Second is a career advisor. You'll work with a career advisor for all 4 years, helping you to plan for what comes next. The 3rd advisor is a fellowships, research, and internships, your experiential learning advisor, to make sure that you're getting the most of the opportunities to supplement your inside classroom experiences. So we want to make sure 97% of our students have at least one internship or research project, and 83% have at least two during their time here at Hamilton. So we'll give you a specific internship to help you focus on those opportunities as well. Now, Hamilton is located in New York, but if you say, I love New York City, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, realize that Hamilton is in the center of the state of New York. This makes us a full 4-hour drive to New York City, 4 hours to Boston, Toronto, and Montreal, surrounded by mountains, rivers, trees, and valleys. It's a beautiful place to study, but if you're thinking city, you're going to be surprised. Remember, fit, right? Hamilton is not located in New York City. However, we do have a city-based semester program that you can complete. This is city-based semesters in New York City, Boston, and Washington, D.C. How this works is it's kind of like a domestic study abroad program. You spend one academic term studying in the city location. Hamilton would get you an apartment. We would also get you an internship. It's a full-time internship program. So for 4 months, you would live in one of these major US city locations. You would get a full-time internship, and you would take classes twice per week with a Hamilton professor, which means you still get to be a full-time student while working towards your degree, but 4 months of work experience in a big city. And all of this does not slow you down towards graduation, because this year, out of the 4,300 colleges in the United States, Hamilton was recognized in the top 10 for graduation rates. So statistically speaking, we are a great option for graduation rates. We are also one of the few colleges that is able to meet 100% of the demonstrated financial need for every admitted student. This means if you are admitted to Hamilton, we are committed to meeting 100% of your financial need. We will do so without offering you financial loans also. So it will be all funding you do not have to pay back. That's part of our promise of access and opportunity. Now you can see some about our early decision and regular decision deadlines here, but I'm happy to answer questions towards the end about Hamilton. And now I will turn over to Christian, who will share about York.
Thank you, Anna. So York College of Pennsylvania is located on the East Coast. We're close to Baltimore, which is 1 hour away. Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. are 2 hours away. Anna mentioned accreditation earlier. So we do have accreditation for our engineering and computer science and business and sports management and other programs. What we're known for are our engineering, IT, cybersecurity, and computer science programs. And what makes it so unique is that we offer paid co-ops, like paid internships, but they're full-time, for engineering students. So mechanical, civil, computer, and electrical engineering students get 3 paid co-ops, one in their 2nd year, their 3rd year, and their 4th year. On average, these students make about $700 per week, and their tuition is reduced during co-ops only to $2,600. Overall tuition is about $24,000. Students are doing co-ops in companies such as Tesla, Google, Voith Hydro, Krohn's, and many other locations, including Harley-Davidson, which is located here in York. We also offer paid internships for hospitality management. So in total, you will have 45 weeks of paid co-ops for engineers. You also get to work on what we call capstone projects, which are big projects at the end. And in the one picture, you can see a race car. And that is a Formula One all-electric vehicle that our students make. We have our own racing team. So our students will build 1 or 2 cars per year. They'll also build different robotics projects, and they'll even make drones in other areas. Computer science students got to make a radio telescope, and they just finished that up last May. We are SAT optional, it's not required. We accept IELTS, TOEFL, and Duolingo, as well as Pearson. Bachelor level tuition is going to be just over $24,000. We do offer some partial scholarships. There is one full tuition scholarship, is, as you would imagine, very competitive. All right, let's go to the questions now. And we have some things that are kind of coming up. Oh, I forgot. We'll do questions, and then we have contact information if you'd like to reach out to Anna or myself. My Instagram is there. So if you'd like to see pictures of campus that's not edited or people posing, you can go and do that. And I'm also available online. if you would like to scan that code and reach out to me online.
The link that I have here from hamilton.edu/explore takes you to our virtual visit page. So if you're interested in getting to know Hamilton more and see about some of the virtual programming that we do, as well as interviews, things like that, you can find that through this website. But hopefully you'll get just a moment to be able to screenshot our contacts, and then we will stop sharing screens, but start answering questions from the Q&A. So thank you. And again, a very humble thank you to both Christian and also to Atsuko and the whole teams at EducationUSA in Japan for inviting us to today's panel. I think we're going to stop sharing at this time.
Okay.
And Christian, do you want to lead us through the Q&A?
Yes, so we have a question about non-academic factors and a question about safety in the United States. And how can I tell whether this area is safe or not? So if you want to address that, I can address that too. I'd be happy to.
Sure. Such an important question, right?
Mhm.
So feel free to ask this of admission officers, ask this of community members, because it is really, really important. We do hear very scary things on the news very frequently, unfortunately, particularly about the United States, and campus safety is definitely something that needs to be considered. The reality is that we do know that news articles end up selling if they are more dramatic. So oftentimes, unfortunately, some of the safety statistics can be really made to seem bigger, and the risk factors can be made to seem bigger in order to sell newspapers. So how do you navigate information to say what is actually a safe environment? You should realize that colleges and universities, their number one priority has to be keeping their community safe in order to be able to have the community grow in academical and personal ways. And there is a law in the United States that says we have to publish safety statistics. I believe it's for 3 years.
3 years.
So while we can talk to you about a series of safety precautions, in fact, most colleges in the United States will have options for emergency call buttons in places that are maybe less busy across campus or dark across campus, emergency call buttons where you can push one button and get help very, very quickly. Most of our campuses will have opportunities for we have our own campus security officers, and they will be able to escort you across campus if it's dark and you don't feel safe for whatever types of reasons. And all of us will have safety metrics in place, but you do not have to believe us when we tell you our communities are very safe. You can actually go online because there is a United States law that says we have to publish 3 years of safety statistics. That's everything from underage drinking, noise across campus, anything more or less than that. But also, I would say you can see the safety statistics, but it's also important to have an idea of, do people feel safe on this campus? So I would always encourage you to try to reach out to a student, and ideally an international student, ideally international student from Japan, who can tell you and ask them the question, do you feel safe when you walk around after campus? So Hamilton, for instance, is a place where people will leave their backpacks and their laptops on a table for hours on end, and nobody's worried that somebody's going to take it. But you can't necessarily see that information just from the website. But if you talked with some of our students, we have 2 Japanese students right now in Hamilton, not a ton, but 2 of them, and ask them, do they feel safe on campus? That can really help you understand. So I would use all of the tools at your disposal. First, ask questions. Second, read the safety statistics from the website. Third, if you are really serious about a school, reach out and ask if you can connect with a current student. You can ask about this question. You can also ask about other things, food, dining, community experience, because Christian and I, we're hopefully lovely, helpful people, but we can only give you the impression from someone who works there. It's different to be a student who studies there. And I think it's a great idea to try and connect with somebody who has the experience that you are going to be pursuing. Anything you want to add, Christian?
No, I'm glad you mentioned it. It is by law. It's called the Clery Act, and we do need to have 3 years of statistics. You also look at different accreditations. So there are accreditations for safety in the United States. I'll give you an example. IACLEA is an international accreditation for campus safety offices in the United States. So that's something they can do. Don't ask, is your campus safe? The question you want to ask is, what does your university do to help ensure the safety of students? That's the question you want to ask. If you ask, is your campus safe? Everyone's going to say, oh, yes, of course. Talk about what measures does your university or college put in place to help ensure that I'm going to be safe. So that's what I would add. All right, our next question is, for the past 2 years, due to the pandemic, I could not do many extracurricular activities. Does this affect my chance of getting into college? So I'll answer this one and then I'll turn it over to Anna, because we're two very different institutions. So our acceptance rate is going to be between 60 and 65%. So it's going to be a little bit different. So when we're looking at a student, we're looking at grades, we're looking at letters of recommendation, and yes, we're looking at extracurricular activities. So the question that you have there is, do you not feel you have enough, or do you not feel that you have quality ones? Normally, when we're looking at extracurricular activities, we're looking at how does it correlate to your studies? You know, does it correlate to what you want to study maybe long term? That's what kind of York is looking for. So if you want to study business, was there an opportunity to study a business club? And if there wasn't a business club, maybe there was an opportunity for you to have some sort of leadership position. You know, if you want to be a teacher, you want to be an educator, so forth. Athletes, another good example, where they're leaders. You know, if you're a teacher, you're leading a classroom. If you're a business person, you want to be maybe an entrepreneur, you're a leader. So even though it might not be directly a business club, maybe it was a leadership opportunity you had, maybe through sports. Maybe you were the president of something, a different club, or you volunteered somewhere. All of that's important. If you would like to include that, well, I had limitations due to the pandemic, then, you know, we're very understanding people, and, you know, do include that into your application, either through an essay, a resume, or sometimes just an email to us. Anna, you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure. So I would say, Hamilton, we're definitely always really interested to know what type of a community member a student would be. Remember that we have one of the things about us is that we are fully residential, so everyone lives on campus. At the end of the day, this means there's only so many beds on campus. So when I say more students apply who could be academically successful, I also mean that I can't unfortunately bring everyone to campus that I want to. So we have to make difficult choices. One of the ways that we do make these choices is we try and get to know what type of a community member would you be if we brought you here to campus? That's why we look at things like extracurricular activities. That's why we look at things like essays. And what do your teachers say about you and your recommendations? However, it's really important to us that we do not penalize students for things that are outside of their control, right? And a global pandemic is probably outside of your control. So what I would say is, if your extracurricular activities have been impacted by the pandemic, this is something, there'll be a section on your application. It's called Community Disruption, and it talks about how has the pandemic impacted you and your candidacy. This is on the application, either the common application or the coalition application. I encourage you to be thoughtful about filling that out. Don't feel like you have to fill it out just to make a complete application. Only fill it out if it's really impacted something that's very meaningful to you. So if your classes kept going online and this impacted your academics, that's something you might want to know. Or if you had internet connectivity issues during the time when you were online, when the schools were shut down earlier in your high school, we want to know that. If you were selected for a really wonderful extracurricular activity program, but it was canceled due to the pandemic, that's something we want to know, because we can also look for ways that you might get engaged with our campus once you arrive. So if we see you were accepted to something, but you weren't able to continue because of the pandemic, again, it helps us understand what type of interests you have, and we will do our best to take into consideration things that are outside of your control. And we always, whenever possible, we want to make sure we are not penalizing students for things outside of their control. So we have plenty of students who are admitted to Hamilton and admitted to York who have had impacts on their extracurricular activities. We just would ask you to be thoughtful about letting us know how COVID has impacted both your academics and extracurricular activities. And if you have no other way of telling us that, your guidance counselor recommendations, teacher recommendations can also be helpful for helping us understand that. But you always, at the end of the day, have that community disruption area where you can let us know, this is what you should know that I would have wanted to do, but I couldn't because the pandemic canceled it. We have a question.
Here we
Or
go.
ahead.
It says, so the next question is, from the 7th grade, what kind of preparation do I need to apply to a U.S. college? Anything to pay attention to choose high school courses? So kind of setting themselves up. What kind of curriculum do they need to take or should they take in order to have a better chance to be admitted? I would say relax. So a lot of people get really, again, to what Anna said, you can only take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. So the last example was, you can't control things like COVID. You're going to attend the school that might be in your neighborhood, or maybe it's a private school and you're paying for that. You can't change the curriculum at the schools. So don't worry too much about that. In terms of York, when we're talking about our engineering and computer science programs, we do like to see that the student has a good background in math. Experience with calculus and pre-calculus is helpful. But in terms from the 7th grade, that's a little early. Maybe year 10 and year 11, I would probably worry about that one. Anything you want to add to that, Anna?
I agree. I think we're trying to predict the future here, which is a very risky and tough thing to do, right? So if you're in 7th grade, you're trying to anticipate what colleges and universities will want to see like 4 or 5 years from now, is a tough situation. Also realize different colleges, different universities will have different preferences for what they want to see for applications. So for instance, Christian has been talking about things that are in line with your major. Hamilton, because of the open curriculum, we don't need things to be in line with your major. We just want to know, have you challenged yourself and taken advantage of the opportunities you've had? So you can't really control for everything. You can't really predict the future. So my suggestion is to try and make decisions in a responsible way, using, again, your resources. Your resources being parents should be part of it. 7th grade, parents should be part of it. Once you get further in your high school process, you want a little bit of your own ownership. Talk to counselors if you have counselors at your schools as well. There are wonderful both national and international high schools that you can choose from in Tokyo and across Japan. Very strong education systems. And think to yourself, what am I interested in for studying in the future? What do I enjoy, and how can I express that I've taken advantage of the opportunities that I had? And realize that that's really the best you can do, is pursue interests you have. Make sure you are challenging yourself. Make sure you're balancing, meaning, yes, you're doing math and sciences and also some of the humanities subjects to show that you'll have more opportunities in the future. But don't worry too much about this one class or that one class, because we will accept students from all different types of curriculums, all different types of environments. What we want to know is, did you challenge yourself and do well in the with regards to the opportunity you have access to? I think we've shut down for new questions. We're still going to answer the ones we have, though, right? That's true.
Okay, so we'll go through them a little quicker here. Next question is about scholarships. Would you give examples of criteria for internationals to receive scholarships? Again, it's going to depend on the institution that you're applying for. At York, we do give merit scholarships. We do give some competitive scholarships, and there's a small amount of need-based. Anna, you talked about meeting need.
Yeah, so we're very different than that. A lot of schools, if they have merit scholarships, they may have academic marks that you need to hit. Sometimes you might need testing, so you have to ask that question. Sometimes they have scholarships for athletics or for music. So make sure you're doing your research. I agree with that. At Hamilton, we do not offer merit or athletic or music or any other kinds of scholarships. We only meet 100% of financial need. So that means that you will submit financial aid documentation. The CSS profile will be part of it, which we will ask you information about taxes and money. And then if we offer you admission, we will give you all of the funding you need in order to ensure it's affordable for you based on that financial aid policy. So it's not like you need testing or this academic grade in order to qualify. It's really, are you offered admission? If you're offered admission, we'll give you the financial aid you need. At other schools, make sure you ask and understand, because there can also sometimes be other deadlines for top scholarships. You need to research this as well. Oh, thank you for It hasn't always looked this way, I promise you. I had a process of time where I had very triangular hair and I did it like 4 times. So, we all grow.
The next one is, do you need to have a car there? Most of our international students, if not all of our international students, do not have their own vehicles. So I don't think it's required. You'll most likely make friends and be able to get in the car and go somewhere. And we do have public transportation, so that's not an issue.
Yeah, same. You can have a car at Hamilton starting your 2nd year, but you don't need one. We have a free shuttle service that will take you to all the surrounding local towns, grocery shopping, bowling, movie theaters, things like that. So you don't need a car.
Okay. Next one is, do we offer English courses? They don't seem to have enough or a high enough score for English proficiency. The answer for York would be no. No, we don't offer English language training on campus. You could do that somewhere else and be happy to apply.
Same answer. Unfortunately, we do not have an intensive English program on campus.
Okay. The next one is, my son has dual citizenship, meaning Japan and the United States, and attend a local Japanese high school. Anything he should be careful about applying to U.S. colleges? So the first thing that jumps out of my mind is the FAFSA. You would be eligible to file the FAFSA for its free application for federal student aid. You would be eligible for that to help make things a little bit more affordable and get some federal money and possibly some state aid as well, depending on where you are, where you live, where you're a citizen in the United States, which your residency, and if that is transferable to, or reciprocal, as we say, to the state you would like to study in.
Yeah, I would say I agree, having U.S. citizenship usually is going to mostly impact financial factors. Usually you have more options as a U.S. citizen, a dual citizen. At Hamilton, the way that would work is, while everyone receives 100% of financial need, international and U.S. citizens, if your student is a U.S. citizen, we do not consider financial need as a factor in the admissions process. This means we have the same admission rates for students who can pay $5,000 a year, same admission rate for students who can pay full tuition if you have U.S. citizenship. If you're an international student, we do consider funding needs. We do fund students 100% and admit students who pay zero tuition, but it is one of the factors and it is more selective. So U.S. citizenship would be helpful in that. I would say U.S. citizenship does not usually mean you don't have to do English scores. So I would take this into consideration, because sometimes people say, I'm a U.S. citizen, why do I need a TOEFL? But if you've grown up your entire life in Japan, right? So you have the same language potentially as people in Japan. So I would be ready to still take a test of English proficiency. Not all schools, some will waive them, but for Hamilton, for instance, we would not waive just based on citizenship. It's based on where have you done your schooling.
All right, we're almost at the deadline. We're going to get one more question in. And it is about, do you think we should go to a quote unquote research university if we think about academic careers and pursuing PhDs? So a research career or research university is a bit broad. So we're a small liberal arts university or college. We're not known as a research university. However, our students do research, a lot of it. Biology, they participate in Small World Initiative, which is the search for new antibiotics. Chemistry students do research all the time. I'm sure your academic programs, they do lots of research too, even though you may not be known as a research university.
Yes, I would say we are a bachelor's institution, but that means we have no master's or PhD students. So when our faculty members are hiring lab assistants, research assistants, they can't hire master's students since we do not have any. They have to work with bachelor students. So you can actually get involved with faculty research projects as early as your first term at Hamilton, and you can do independent research as early as your first summer at Hamilton. We spent over $500,000 supporting undergraduate independent research every summer, and this is across all 60 academic subject areas, so not just in the STEM space. But the average STEM student at Hamilton will have 3 research projects before they graduate, which means if you attend a big research university, particularly as a bachelor's level student, you're going to have a really hard time finding even one research program because the funding and focus is on master's or postgraduate students. So surprisingly, if you attend a non-research institution for bachelor's, oftentimes you can find more opportunities for research because all of the funding and focus goes on the bachelor's level students. And then those big research opportunities are great locations, particularly for your PhD program, right? So I know a lot of students will follow pathways where they will do a institution that focuses, a college that focuses on bachelor students for bachelor studies, build up their resume there, and then apply to these large research institutions when they're ready to do large research projects, which is for master's and postgraduate studies.
Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to EducationUSA for their comments and for a wrap up.
Thank you, Christian and Anna, for a wonderful presentation. I hope all of you learned something new and learned the importance of choosing the right fit and also making the making the fit for each student. Sorry. So lastly, I would like to share upcoming events. Let me share my screen again. So again, this is International Education Week. And for undergraduate prospective students, we have 2 more events coming up. One is tomorrow night at the same time about esports and game-related majors. So the esports, many of you know, it's continuing to grow bigger each year, and some universities offer esports scholarships even. So for this session, you will learn not only about the esports environment in the States, but also what kind of measures are available related to games. And for this webinar, 2 university esports director will be presenting. So this is a very great chance for you to learn the environment in the United States about the esports. So please join the webinar. And another one is on Saturday, more than 50 colleges and universities in 27 states will join this online STEAM fair. So it will be an excellent chance for you to talk directly to the school representatives. So we could not cover some questions, but those questions, please ask to each school, probably each school, like for some of the questions, each school has different answer for you. So please join this fair as well. For more information about the events, please visit American Center Japan website. So again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact EducationUSA, and also about your College of Pennsylvania and Hamilton, please contact Christian and Anna. Like they shared the email address with you previously, so please contact them directly. Thank you again, Christian and Anna, for joining our webinar today. And thank you all for participating in the webinar. So this will conclude this webinar. Thank you all for attending, and hope to see you at another event soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.